welcome back. Today I'm filming a full face of makeup that I hate. I've never done a video like this before, so I'm a little bit nervous about it. I used to see people doing this video all the time, but I haven't really been seeing anybody doing it lately, so hopefully you guys enjoy this video. I know you guys like it when I talk about products that I don't like, so hopefully this will help you guys out a little bit. If you guys aren't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, and without further ado, let's just get right into this. I'm going to be starting off with my base today. So for my primer, I'm using the Becca Velvet Blurring Primer. Oh my gosh, my nails are so grown out right now. I'm sorry if you had to see that. My problem with this is it just sits so weird underneath the foundation. It dries really weird. It's also super liquidy, and so I feel like when it dries, I don't even know how to explain it. It just has like this weird grit to it, almost like a sandy feeling. It doesn't sit good underneath my foundation. It just looks very textured, and it kind of bunches up and balls up in some places. So I'm not a fan of this one. I believe I tried this one in a full face of first impressions a while ago, and I haven't ever liked it. I've tried it a few times and it just has never worked out for me. So enough about that. Moving on to the foundation, I'm using the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Foundation. I have the shade 220N. I think I'm the only person on the planet that doesn't like this foundation, but it just does not work out for me. I have oily skin, textured skin, sensitive skin, acne prone skin, and a lot of foundations separate on me and cake up and just look really gross on my skin, and this one is definitely one of those foundations. One of the main reasons why I hate this foundation is because it breaks me out like crazy. So I'm taking one for the team today. Let's hope I don't wake up with a massive breakout tomorrow, since my skin just finally cleared up from my last one. I'm actually gonna put my hair back quick. So I'm blending this out with my beauty sponge, and honestly, when this foundation is first applied, I don't think it looks bad, especially after I set down all of my makeup. It just sits really funny on top of my skin. It's one of those foundations that I can see it on my skin. It is a very full coverage foundation, so it's kind of expected, but I just don't like that look. I feel like my pores look very enhanced, and it just looks really thick on my face. But after about, I wanna say like 4 or 5 hours, you guys can go back to where I reviewed this foundation. I did a whole dedicated video on it, and you can see what it did on my face. It just caked up like crazy. It transferred off everywhere. It looked really bad on my skin, and I've tried it a few times since then. I've never been able to make it work. So sadly, even though everybody else loves this foundation, it definitely is a no-go for me. Wow, and this is a completely different color than my body right now. This is so yellow. See, right off the bat, like I really don't think it looks bad. I just can definitely see a lot of texture on my cheeks happening, and I'm just not a fan. Okay, moving on. I'm sure you guys already saw this one coming. This is the Urban Decay All Nighter Concealer. I have just not had the best luck with this concealer. I don't know why it doesn't work for me, because it seems to be working for other people, but I do see a lot of the same complaints from people that don't like it. It just dries way too fast on me. I have to work in sections with it because it does dry so fast that if I don't, it'll dry to my face and these lines like will not come off for the life of me. But mainly I just don't like this because it makes my under eyes look really dry. It does crease a lot on me too, which is never fun. See if you guys can kind of tell there's still a line there. It just happens with this concealer, but honestly, if you work with it fast enough, you can avoid that. I just mainly don't like the creasing and how dry it is on me. But I do also have very dry under eyes, so that could be a part of the problem. If you guys don't have super dry under eyes, you'd probably like this one, but for me, it's never worked out for me. I don't know if you guys can already see from there, but it is already creasing really, really bad underneath my eyes. They just look so aged. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm just gonna try and blend these out and set them quickly. So my setting powder, I'm using the Tarte, what is this called? Filtered Light Setting Powder. I actually don't even have a cap to this, so I don't know how I guess I'm just gonna put it on the back of my hand. This powder is very, very finely milled, but the reason why I don't like it is because it makes my skin darker. It just has a little bit of a tint to it, almost like a darker yellow tint, but it doesn't really look like it. So I don't love this powder. I would probably like it more if I was a little bit darker, but just for everyday wear, it's just a little bit too dark on me. Can you guys see like how yellow that makes my skin? Okay, so I'm just setting my under eyes and then my T-zone. I'm avoiding the very outside of my face because I am going to be using cream bronzer today. So since I don't have a powder bronzer to use, I'm using cream today, and I'm using this Too Faced Toasted Peach Cream Bronzer. I didn't hate this when I first tried it, but just the more that I use it, I'm just reminded why I don't really like it. It's just very tough to work with. It's a very hard pressed cream, and it also has a little bit of kind of a shimmer to it, or a glow, and usually I like my bronzers to be matte just because I have quite a bit of texture, especially on my forehead. I don't like that to be enhanced. So I'm just using a kabuki brush for this. This is a Morphe E31 brush, and then I'm just gonna push this into my hairline, and that just completely took off my foundation. Okay, that's wonderful. I've never used this with this foundation, and they are not working the best together. It's totally taking off the foundation, which is weird because every other time I've used this, I've used a kabuki brush and it hasn't taken off the foundation like this, so it's interesting. This is bad. You can see literally where the foundation stops. Okay, well, I'm just gonna stop doing that. I'm gonna take a little bit more powder and then go over that to set that down since I don't have a powder bronzer. Take my beauty blender. This kind of sucks because I actually have somewhere to be after this, and I was expecting to wear this makeup. This isn't happening. Yeah, this is really weird because I use this brush all the time for my cream bronzer, cream contour, and that has never happened. Let's just move on to eyebrows. So for my eyebrows, I have this Stila Stay All Day Waterproof Brow Color. So the reason why I don't like this is because it's actually a marker, which I didn't know that when I bought this, but it's really weird. It's like a Sharpie pen almost, and I just feel like it's really inconvenient for me. It might be nice for a lot of people, especially if you want really waterproof brows, but I'm just not used to doing my brows with this kind of thing, and it's super pigmented. You can't really go like light-handed with it because it just gives you the same amount of color like whatever you do. So I'm just not a fan of this style of brow products, and I don't know, I just feel like it's really messy. And it's really dark too. The color is dark. That's probably why it's so dark. Do you see what I mean? It's just really hard to be precise with this just because it's so pigmented. It just looks like a marker. And I'm being so light-handed right now too, and it's just, you know, maybe it would be better if I didn't have the shade dark. I don't know why on earth I have this shade. I'm getting so frustrated because this is taking forever and it looks so bad. There's nothing I can do about this brow anymore. This one isn't terrible. It just looks like a bushy dark brow, but this one is, it's seen better days. Okay, we're gonna end that. Let's move on to the eyeshadow now. So I'm actually gonna be priming my eyes with the Urban Decay concealer. Just put a little bit on there, blend it out with my sponge. You guys see how fast this dries? It's crazy. I wasn't doing it as much on my face, but I feel like since the foundation was still a little bit like wet, it was helping it, but okay, well that is not coming off, so we're just gonna have to leave it there. For my eyeshadow, I have two palettes up here. This first one is the Stila Eyes of the Window Shadow palette, and this one is in the shade Spirit. So I just don't like this because the colors are very dull to me. There's only two matte shades in here, this one, and this shade is very light. It hardly even shows up on me, and I'm still pretty fair skinned. And then all these shimmer shades just aren't very metallic how I like them. They're more of just a subtle sheen. So I'm gonna take this first shade right here to set down my base. I always do this so that my eyeshadow blends easier. And then just using that same brush, I'm going into this only matte shade right here. And then I'm going to put this right in my crease. So you guys saw I picked up a ton, and I don't know why I was so high up. Barely showing up, so I don't know. I just feel like it's a little bit too light for me, so I'm just going to keep packing this on and building it up. You know what's funny is this is the first palette that I ever bought. Not ever, but it was the first palette I bought when I was starting YouTube. So before I started, I wanted to collect a bunch of palettes before I started, just because I was just in that mindset that you needed to have so much makeup, just like this whole collection of makeup when you were a YouTuber. And so before I started, I was just preparing myself and buying all these palettes, and this was, I think, the first one that I bought when I started doing that a couple years ago. And I would use this shade in here, every single day. I used it so much and I used to love it. That is one of the shades of this palette that I do still like, but now that I have more gold in my collection, I just can tell how much less intense that one is. So just a little backstory. I'm just gonna go in with this deepest color right here to deepen up my outer corner. And the reason why I don't really love this shade is because it's a shimmer. So I don't like putting shimmers in my crease. I feel like it looks funny, especially on me. A little bit of that, and then put this in my outer corner, blend this around. It looks a little bit more of a warmer brown in the palette, but it looks very, very ashy on the eye. So I'm just taking my MAC 242 brush and I'm gonna pick up a pretty generous amount and then pack this on the lid. So see how it's just very, very subtle? If you guys like more subtle eyeshadows, I'm sure you would like this, but I'm not even gonna do that. I'm gonna use that gold shade that I was talking about, this shade right here. Much better. And you can see I got tons of fallout, which doesn't bother me too much, but that's why I usually like to do my eyes first before my face. I'm also gonna use this Too Faced Glitter Bomb palette. I've never been obsessed with this palette. I've tried it maybe a couple times and it just wasn't what I was expecting it to be. You are supposed to use this with glitter glue, but even when I did use it with glitter glue, it still wasn't giving me what I wanted. So I don't know. So I'm gonna use this shade right here. It's called Rose All Day on that same MAC 242 brush. And I'm picking up a lot and then I'm gonna spray it with some more setting spray. So it's prettier than that gold shade, but still, I don't know. I just feel like it's really chunky. I am gonna actually add a little bit of this black shade, just a touch, a little tiny bit to deepen up the outer corners. Well, I think this is the worst eye look I've ever done in my entire life, but it's stressing me out, so I'm not gonna deal with it anymore. I'm gonna use some eyeliner. This is the Too Faced Sketchmarker. I'm pretty sure I told you guys why I didn't like this in my best and worst of Too Faced, but it just dries out really, really fast. I've had, I think 2 of these, either 2 or 3, and after like 1 or 2 times of using them, the pen just dries out and it gets kind of gray. Also tugs and skips on my eyes. I like my eyeliners to be very pitch black and matte, and this one just looks kind of gray. And the main thing, I just don't like the applicator just because it does do this whole skipping thing. I don't know if you guys can see that. Like, do you see what I mean? How it skips like that? It just tugs so much on my eye. Can you guys see that? I hope you guys can see from there how much it skips. I can't even make this wing look good because it's just... All right, I've had enough of that. Let's move on to highlighters. So I have 2 highlighters here. One's a cream, one's a powder. And the first one is this Too Faced Peach Frost highlighter. I don't like this because it is very subtle. It's almost like you're putting nothing on your cheeks. And normally I wouldn't be so thrown off. Okay, see, look, that is just, what is that? It's just so dry and it tugs so much. Usually I like to do cream highlighters underneath my powder highlighters, so I thought that I was gonna love this one. And it's just very, very chalky, very powdery. It's just really hard to work with. So it's weird because it does say it's a matte highlighter, but when it goes on, it has just a little tiny bit of a sheen. It's very, very subtle. I mean, you guys can see, when it reflects the light, you can see a little bit more, but it is still very, very subtle. And it also, how many times am I gonna say very? Enhances a lot of my texture too. You can see all these little bumps, which usually with my Benefit What's Up highlighter, that does not happen. So yeah, not a fan of that one. And now I'm gonna move on to my powder highlighter. And this is the Fenty Beauty Metal Moon highlighter. Honestly, it does nothing for me. I don't actually know why I even bought it because when I swatch it, I don't even think it looks that pretty. Yeah, see, it's just very, sorry, I didn't get that. It's very chalky, so weird. It just looks so bumpy and it doesn't even have a pretty reflect to it. I thought it was gonna be like a gold or silver reflect, but it just looks like flat white. It's so strange to me. I'm using this Morphe and Bretman Rock brush, and I'm gonna really dig my brush in here to see if I can get something out of it. That's another reason why I don't like this, is because it's very like hard pressed almost, even though it comes off chalky. But I feel like I can just never get anything out of it. Very, very strange highlighter. And see how ashy it looks? It just gives my face a very muddy and ashy look. If you guys are super, super fair skinned, this wouldn't look like this on you. Like it wouldn't look very ashy and muddy like it does on me. But again, it still is hardly even showing up and I'm like really digging in this thing. I'm gonna put some mascara on now, and this mascara that I'm using is probably gonna piss some people off, but I don't love it. This is the Benefit They're Real mascara. I don't hate this mascara by any means, but I'm very specific when it comes to what I like in mascaras. I already have very long lashes, so I like to look for mascaras that are gonna thicken up and just give me a lot of volume. And this mascara is really good at just lengthening them and kind of like separating them out, whereas I like my lashes to be kind of clumped together and it just look very thick and full. I'm not saying this one is a bad one at all, because this one is clearly, I think, one of the most purchased mascaras besides the Better Than Sex one. It clearly isn't a bad one, it's just not my favorite. So I think this is the only thing in this entire video that I actually don't hate. It's just one of those things where I prefer one mascara over this one. Okay, moving on to blush. This one is by Makeup Geek. This is the XOXO blush, and I mainly just don't like this blush at all because it's very hot pink. On camera, it looks like a little bit more subtle peachy blush, but this one is very hot pink, and it just doesn't look good on my skin tone. I also find these blushes to have a ton of pigment and a lot of kickback, which I actually don't like my blushes to have a lot of pigment, just because if you go in with too much, they can be really hard to blend out. So it just has, yeah, look at that. Just has a little bit too much pigment for me. Okay, and then for my lips, I'm using the Urban Decay Vice Liquid Lipstick. I just talked about these in my best and worst of Urban Decay video. I've just never really liked these. I feel like they're very sticky. They don't dry down to a super matte finish, and they transfer a lot. When I smile, they get all over my teeth. And they're supposed to be a matte liquid lipstick. They're also not very pigmented, so I feel like I have to use a lot of the lipstick to make it like super opaque, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, how you can see through my lips and it's a little bit darker in some areas. I do really like the applicator. That is one thing that I do like about these lipsticks, but I don't know, I just could never get on board with these ones. By the way, this shade is the shade 1993, if I didn't say that already. Okay, I have one more thing to use, and this is the Cover FX Illuminating Setting Spray. So again, I used this one in a full face of first impressions video, and I think I actually liked it in that video, but I was just a little bit iffy about it. I've used it a few times since then, and I do like the way it looks if you use just a little tiny bit. It just makes your face look really pretty and dewy, but I never went outside when I used this until one day I looked in the mirror after I used it, and I was so embarrassed because you could literally see, even if you do one little quick spray, you can actually see glitter particles on your face, and it gets in your eyebrows, your eyelashes, it just gets all over the place, and it's just not my favorite look. Okay, so this is the final look. How do you guys like it? I actually think I look scary right now, and I cannot wait to take this makeup off. It really sucks because I was planning on going out and wearing the makeup that I did in this video, but that's not happening. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this, I will totally do more of these because I have a ton of makeup that I hold on to that is not my favorite. So if you guys like this, please let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.